and Jay, you both said the bench was the most impressive part of the Cavs' 15-0 start. Do you also believe that's their biggest advantage over other teams in the East, mainly the Boston Celtics right now? Is the Cavs bench essentially their secret weapon?
I would say their depth, and I know it sounds like that's the bench, but I just think that the depth in their starting lineup is a huge advantage. In this era where you can't afford to go out and get 3 superstars, I feel like they have 3. I feel like with Mobley playing the way he is, and Mitchell at an MVP level, and Garland back to All-Star Garland, I think they've cracked the code. So for me, it's their depth in starting lineup, depth in roster, depth in bench.
I would say it's not the same as depth, but I would say versatility. And I would say the versatility defensively. When you watch them do pick and rolls, or when you have them big switch out, the Cavs don't miss much at all. You see Jared Allen night in, night out, hedging out on ball screens, doing different things, and making point guards take 6-7 dribbles to either get past him or swing the ball. When you have 2 guys like that and bigs that can both run the floor, they're both rim protectors, they're good weak side defenders. Also, they're very smart when it comes to the rotations defensively. I think the thing that really helps the Cleveland Cavaliers is that you have 2 7-footers. Also, a guy like Dean Wade, who is a very good plus-minus defender and has length and is long, that can also stay in front of guards. I think that's the biggest advantage, because offensively, they already know what their roles are. Jared Allen knows exactly where he's going to get his shots at. Evan Mobley has now expanded his role. There's better spacing. But defensively is where the Cavs are slightly underrated in the 15-0 move. And I think that is going to pay dividends when they do play the Celtics, because when you do get Tatum and Brown, 6'7", 6'8 guys, athletic wings, the Cavs defensively don't lose a lot. Like, if Evan Mobley switched out on Jason Tatum, yeah, that's kind of a mismatch, but he's going to make Jason Tatum work. He's got length. He's going to contest the shot. And, you know, the Cavs have been a solid rebounding team as well. So I think the length and their defenders and 2 7-footers that can move their feet at the perimeter, I think that's the biggest advantage over other teams.
Boston's deep, too. Like, there's other teams that are deep. So I know it sounds like I'm talking out both sides of my mouth, because the previous question I said it was their depth. But in this instance, I actually think it's the way they're playing on offense is their biggest advantage, because Mike and I sat together Friday night during the Bulls game, and I was clumsily trying to, like, dig through some of the numbers. And I don't want to get confusing with too many of the numbers, but here's what we sort of drilled down to was they are creating more wide open shots earlier in the clock than they did in the past. And we've talked about that before, about their pace, they're playing faster. Well, by playing faster, you're getting into your offense quicker. And the NBA does a great job with all their data of breaking down, like, where in the shot clock are you getting your shots, early, middle, late. And in the past, they were getting a lot of shots that were maybe good, not great looks, and they were coming late in the clock. This year, they're taking 20 shots, roughly, that are with closest defender 6 feet away or farther. And that's actually not the best. Like, Charlotte was higher. Mike, OKC was higher.
They led the league in it.
They were around like
movement?
20. Yeah, it's ball movement.
Driving kick.
It's the drive kick swing that Draymond was talking about, and it's doing it earlier in the clock. So they're getting into these shots at like the 17, 18 range on the shot clock rather than 4 or 5, and they're creating better looks, and they're going in. And I was talking to Donovan after the game, and I said, on these wide open looks, 6 feet or farther, what percentage should you shoot on that? And he's like, you know, I'm not good at this, and like, I always want, every player thinks you should make them all. But he said, realistically, probably like 45%, and that's probably high. They were at 50%. They're making 50% of their shots when the closest defender is 6 feet away or farther. And is that sustainable? No.
Will the league eventually figure that out? I mean, they always do.
Well, you can't figure it out when
it's chasing your tail.
That's it. When you're making the extra pass, which is what they've been so good at this year, how do you defend that?
Right.
And when the ball's popping like that, and when it's moving, and like, you know, we always talk drive and kick. That's what the LeBron teams are so good at, drive, kick to the shooter in the corner. Well, the Cavs are drive, kick, swing it to the guy on the wing who's even more open.
What if off-ball defenders start anticipating that pass before it happens?
Well, then then you take the kick. You take the kick shot.
Right.
And you don't make the extra pass. Like
You can't defend it.
Mike
It
just,
really is.
You just hope they miss.
It seems like it's tough to stop.
It's a make or miss
they
league.
have a counter right now. They have a counter to everything that you try to do to them defensively. But if they continue to shoot, and that's the thing, like Charlotte is taking more wide open threes than the Cavs, but their percentage I think was like 38.
They took some horrible shots last night.
Well, I'm just saying,
That's
like
how they play. They chuck through.
I mean, they were shooting. At one point, they tried one from the logo, and there was still 4 seconds on the shot clock.
That's LaMelo Ball. That's just how. They
Yeah,
play.
I know he is. I know you like him, but he's reckless. Some of the shots he takes, I'm like,
he's not a winning player. He's a hooper. Big difference.
Well, he thinks he's Steph, and he's not.
But the teams that are shooting more frequency and the wide open threes are not shooting as high as a percentage as the Cavs. So, and Kenny Atkinson keeps saying, we're shooting above our heads right now. We're shooting above our heads. He's been saying that for 2 weeks, and the numbers have not normalized yet because while, yes, okay, they're shooting above their skis, they're also getting incredible looks.
That's what I'm saying.
So even if they don't shoot 50% on wide open threes, if they shoot 45%, that's still an incredible number.
It's sustainable.
And that's where that is sustainable.
Yeah.
The biggest advantage for the Cavaliers are the 3 C's, guys. Let's start with confidence. This team is playing with a ton of confidence. Everybody believes in themselves, and most importantly, everybody on this team believes in each other. That's why they're passing the ball. Because everybody on this team, from their best player down, led by Donovan Mitchell, knows that they trust these other guys to make shots or make the right pass.
Right.
And why do they have that? Because they have chemistry. That's the second C. This team has chemistry. They love playing together. We've kind of scoffed at they're all a bunch of nice guys when it hasn't panned out at the end of the year. But right now, the fact that they're a bunch of nice guys and they like playing with each other, and they've shown this dog in them this year that we haven't seen as a team, their chemistry is great. And why do you have great chemistry and great confidence? Because of continuity. They've played together, all these guys, now for a while. You look at the Knicks, why are they struggling? Part of the reason they're struggling is because they made a bunch of moves and they've kind of shaken up what their team was. They had a lot of success last year. They broke it up to some degree, and now, at least early in the season, they're paying the price for that. The Cavs have the 3 C's, and that gives them an advantage over everybody except for maybe the C's, the Celtics. I don't know what to say.
I like what you did there. I like it. No,
Very
I think
well done,
I
Bull.
agree with everything
Very
you
well
said there.
done.
Thank
They
you.
are very confident.
Yeah.
Very confident.
Yes.
To Jason's point on ball movement and how when Steve, pull up that last video, 294 real quick. We talked about this on Friday. It's at the very bottom. We just pulled it in. And you could take it full, Steve. I don't have to be on camera. This is from the Sixers game last Wednesday. You can't stop this. Look at how in rotation Philadelphia is closing out, drive, kick. There's no way that you can cover all of that and still have the integrity in the lane. I put this together after the game because the unselfishness and the extra passing. He steps in to help, jumping off to the corner. When they're playing with this level of unselfishness, and I think it goes back to a lot of what Bull said, it's confidence, continuity, and chemistry. It allows you to know where certain guys are going to be, so you're not staring at open passes. It allows guys to shoot confidently, and when you're shooting 50% as a team, which essentially they are, it's easier to make the extra pass because you know, okay, this is a decent shot. I'm going to get a good shot, or I'm going to give up a good shot to get an even better shot. And I'm not kidding. There's no harder thing in basketball than to chase, recover, then chase again.
Oh, it's exhausting.
In constant motion, which the Cavs are doing, and it starts in high pick and roll. It starts off back cuts. It starts from the corner. It starts from the wing. They're getting into all these different actions in a variety of different ways. It is simply put beautiful basketball, and from a coaching standpoint, you can't ask for anything more than what they're currently getting from anyone who steps in.
I agree.
And Jay, to your point, you talked before about, okay, these games are close, and then all of a sudden, the last few minutes, the Cavs just pull away.
Yeah.
Think about this. I didn't really think about it. I guess it's pretty obvious, but I didn't really think about it until Mike brought up the point that this is the hardest thing in basketball is chasing guys down. Well, think about these teams. You're chasing players down for 40-something minutes. These other teams probably gassed by the end of the game.
They're putting
and
teams
that's
in
why
the
the
spin
Cavs
cycle.
are able to pull away
Yes,
at the
you're
end.
right.
They always talk about, defensively in the NBA, making multiple efforts. And those multiple efforts are when they're kicking and they're driving and penetrating, and then you're helping on guys that are getting to the basket, you're a help side defender, but then you got to get back to your man, or you got to hedge and get back. Like, that's difficult. And the most demoralizing thing is when you do all of that and get a good shot hand up and it still go in. You're like, man, this a bunch of what.
Yeah.
Or if you got everybody hitting. Usually, if you got a team that can't really shoot, they got a couple of shooters on the floor, and you're like, okay, well, we'll leave you alone. You know how it is. Back in the day, Cavs were one of the great teams that said, all right, well, we got Kevin Love out there. We got Crawford out there. Our 5-man is out here shooting the ball, and then you got LeBron and Kyrie that can't be stopped one-on-one. You're just sick to your Channing Frye's hitting threes. You're just done.
It's a make or miss league. Like, how many times have you heard that? Like, you can do all of that, get the wide open look.
Still got to make it,
and it's not going to go. And they're gonna have nights. Believe it or not, they are going to have nights where they're 6 of 27 from 3.
They're going to hit a stretch.
They're 9 of 30. Sure. They're 9 of 38 from 3. And then what do you do?
Yeah.
Well, they have the pieces to still win. They could still win defensively. They still have guys who can get to the basket, whatever. But I'm interested to see when those nights come, and they will come.
What do they go to? Yeah, that's fascinating. I can't wait for tomorrow night.
Might be one of them games tomorrow night.
It could be.
I hope not.
I mean, the Celtics, they have a good way.
They're long. They're switchy.
Yep.
I can't wait. I mean, I'm watching the pregame for that. I'm watching halftime. I love games on TNT. The Cavs haven't been on TNT the last few years very often. Yeah. I love it. I can't wait to watch that.
It is going to be the talk of the NBA world, and if they beat the Boston Celtics, they would be 16-0, which would be a standalone second-best start in NBA history. And as Tim Legler said, and Jay, you mentioned, with the Warriors win streak, it reaches a point where it can't be ignored and then becomes a nightly story.
Yeah.
If the Cavs get to 16-0 by beating the Celtics in Boston,
they're there.
Wednesday, it is the lead
100%.
story, or Tuesday
Without
night, the lead
question.
story. Wednesday, the lead story, and every game they play from there on out until they lose is the lead story.